Hi, welcome to Go Tell Mom. I'm Dianna Kelly, and I've been momming for several decades, including tending my fur babies, kids I gave birth to, kids I mentored as a broadcaster and college instructor, my kids' friends, and my friends. I'm not a psychologist or doctor, but I do know how to dig up advice from those who are, and that's what I'll share with you. If you have something to share with me, remark, comment, question, please comment below. It's always a kick for me to watch kids and moms interacting in clothing stores. You get everything from the eye roll to the thumbs up or down. I sympathize even as I surreptitiously snicker. There are no words that scare me more than my daughter asking me to go shopping with her. No words. Because if I point to something or, heaven forbid, carry an item over to her when she's trying something on, it's a hard no immediately, emphatically. My son, on the other hand, would just say, "Thanks, Mom," and let me buy the item, and never wear it, except for socks, shoes, the occasional jacket, and underwear, all stuff he rarely bought for himself. In fact, I would make a point of getting him those items for Christmas, and I swear he always looked relieved when he unwrapped them because, as he would put it, half of my old ones have holes in them now. "Thanks, Mom." I would rarely take him shopping because he didn't like to try stuff on. I'd ask him what he needed, what he wanted, and went from there. My daughter, on the other hand, needed me to see everything she tried on, give my opinion on how it fit or looked on her, and resolutely ignored my comments. It took me a few years to figure out I was there to purchase for her and approve what she wanted, not be a consultant. By age 3, most kids can handle the basics of getting dressed, according to parents.com. So it's not a big surprise that they'd have their own ideas of what they want to wear. The more power you give your child to dress herself, the less likely it will be that you'll be dealing with her walking around without pants on. Experts suggest you give your toddler dictators a whole lot of choices about things that don't matter to you. Like, would you rather wear a blue sweater or your red one? Not, would you want to wear pants? I stopped offering clashing prints as part of the selection because, sure as anything, they'd pick the striped pants with the checkered top in clashing colors. I swear they'd grab orange and purple because I hated that combo. At some point, you need to make your child understand that they cannot have Hannah Montana's closet. There must be limits on what they can choose for their wardrobe. Halfway through high school, I started doing the budget thing with my kids. We'd hit them all, both son and daughter, and I'd buy myself a magazine and cup of coffee and hang out in one of the lounge areas after handing a certain sum of cash to each kid. They were instructed to choose and buy their back-to-school items, clothing items, that is. Please note, neither child was naked at the time nor likely to outgrow what was currently in their closet in the near future. My son would finish his shopping and ask if he could keep the change. My daughter would come back in a panic, nothing purchased yet, and ask if she could have more money because there were 10 pairs of pants she absolutely needed and 4 pairs of shoes, and a really cool jacket that cost most of the sum I handed her. I told her she had to make choices. She was not happy with me. Despite the potential for verbal explosions, having the responsibility for paying for his or her own clothes is good for kids, according to familyeducation.com. It teaches them how to budget, how to prioritize, how to seek value in the items you choose. My son actually prefers to make his purchases online because he can get a better deal during special sales they offer, and he knows they have his size. Before the zany trip to the store starts, you might want to have them check their closets to figure out what fits, what doesn't, and what repairs need to be made. Check their sizes, then make a list of what they really need. This will keep them on task as they roam through the aisles and not get distracted by that sweatshirt featuring their favorite band. You might even have them do some online pricing to figure out how far they can stretch their clothing allowance. Some parents may feel that kids need to pay for their own clothes once they hit their teens and should get a part-time job to do it. That's your call, but you know what it costs to clothe yourself, so you may want to double think sticking them with the whole tab. On the other hand, you may opt to pay for the big-ticket items like coats and shoes and let them handle the smaller stuff. And if they want to go beyond the basic wardrobe, that's when they're on their own. Don't get sucked in by the, "But I need one of these. So-and-so has one and so do all my friends." There's a lot to be said for being the trend setter, not the trend follower. That said, if the kid's paying for their own stuff, it's kind of hard to play wardrobe police with their selections. ScaryMommy.com says, realize supporting your child to make choices about clothes they like and feel comfortable in is one element of teaching them to respect their bodies and their preferences. A few quick tips for money saving when it comes to kids' clothes shopping. Clothing is cheapest toward the end of the season. Wait till stores start clearing out inventory if you want to snag some deals. Yes, we've all heard about the back-to-school sales and Black Friday sales, but not everything in the store gets marked down. In fact, when I've shopped, I've discovered a lot gets marked up to even out the profit level. Personally, the best deals I used to get as a kid would be when my cousin Pam would be clearing out her closet. I'd get all of her hand-me-downs since she was 3 years older than me. My aunt had great taste, and Pam was very careful with her clothes. I remember, though, when she hit puberty and she got a really great coat one Christmas, she grinned at me and said, "You're not going to get this one." My clothes were always passed on to my sister until she grew taller than me. But Mom made a lot of our clothes. In fact, she dragged me and my sister and a couple of her sewing friends and their daughters to a couple of fabric stores a few towns away about a month before school started. We got to pick out the fabric we liked and the pattern we liked, and our outfits were guaranteed to fit. And of course, Mom determined the hemlines. Sometimes kids may have a favorite pair of pants that, under the bright light of their closet, suddenly look faded. I'm a big believer in reviving that fade. I'll use dye in the same color and let their favorite item sit in it for a few hours before throwing it in the dryer. Instant new look, and I should know since I have 5 pair of favorite pants of my own that I do this with twice a year. My son came over once and asked what was in the pot, and I told him. He looked at me like I was nuts. Then I pointed to the jacket I was wearing and one of those favorite pair of pants I was wearing with it. Do they look like they go together? They look like an exact match, he admitted. Did you dye those too? Yep. It's hard to impress a 20-something, but he was impressed. Moneycrashers.com says getting your kids to look at their older clothes in a new way can help them feel less inclined to shop for new things. Take a look at basic staples like white t-shirts and black slacks and figure out how they'll look with the newer pieces. Don't be afraid to take kids to vintage stores to shop. Guess what they'll be doing when they're on their own? You're likely to find gently used brand name clothing for much less than you'd pay for new. There are also online marketplaces that sell gently used clothing as well. Not as sexy an experience, I know. My mom would always alternate between discount and vintage and high-end because she was always scanning for sales. I remember when I first did my own clothes shopping and I came home with a perfect classic chic white blouse that I bought for $8 at Lord & Taylor. I was thrilled, and Mom was kind of proud that I scored a deal after taking her advice. Someday, your kids may feel the same way after taking your advice. Coming up next, my friend Lori Meyer joins me, and we talk kids and shopping for clothes. We're back with Go Tell Mom. I'm Dianna Kelly with Lori Meyer joining me. Lori's also a mom and an educator. So, Lori, kids are back in school.
Yeah.
Did actually a little bit of back-to-school shopping for my kids.
Okay.
Even though
they're not young kids anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But when my youngest was going back for her last semester, we actually did some shopping, but it was kind of / shopping for the first job.
Oh, right.
Or for the first job interview.
Very
was the
cool.
way we
And
were
got to
looking at
utilize the back-to-school sales, right?
Yes. Although, did you notice a lot of back-to-school sales? I mean, I know your daughter was back to school this
Right.
semester, but did you notice a whole lot? Because I didn't.
I didn't see as far as those items were concerned.
Yeah.
There's the typical for the younger kids, which I always appreciated during the elementary school years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the notebooks and the paper and whatever tools
Right.
you needed to be in
Right.
the classroom. But
clothing.
I didn't notice as much of the clothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I've been more so online clothing shopping over the past year
But that's
now.
back to school shopping these days,
It
too.
is. It is.
It really is. And my son was actually the one that got me into shopping online because he's really tall, and in his high school days, he was really
It's hard to
skinny.
shop for.
And so I'd be looking for stuff that was like super skinny.
And it's hard to find.
Really
it's
hard to find. Yeah.
And I had the opposite problem with my daughter being so petite.
Right.
She's barely over 5 foot, barely 90 pounds wet, and even finding shoes for her.
And trying to go to a store and find the right size. So
Right.
finally, he literally sent me a link to the store that had everything in his size.
Oh, perfect.
And so I just went shopping there. I waited for
Click,
their
click, click,
sale.
click, click, click.
And then there we go. It's Cyber Monday. Here we go.
I love that.
You know, and
that's what I think. And over the last couple of years with the pandemic and not being able to try on things, it forced me to online shop and really pay attention to what your measurements are or whoever you're buying for, reading reviews. And I became a better shopper, and I'm not enjoying the in-person clothing shopping experience the way I used to or the way I did when I was growing up.
Okay. I've got the flip side, though. Now, this worked really well for my son, but my daughter and I would try to buy something online, and I bought this jacket online. This jacket fits.
It's a good color.
Thank you. The one before it did not.
Oh, no. Right.
And I hate sending things back. It's just one of those things.
It's a hassle.
It is a hassle. So I don't. So it's still sitting in my trunk a year later.
No, yes.
Yes. I mean, it's in a cellophane bag in my trunk.
Oh.
And this shirt I bought.
Which is another good color, by the way.
Thank you. I like this color.
You're good at picking your...
And everything about it's great, except for it was sold as a 3/4 length sleeve.
Okay.
And I got it, and the sleeves were like all the way
3/4
even past my wrist.
Past
your
wrist. So that's,
really.
That's 1+.
Yeah. So I'm like looking at it and saying, no. But I liked everything else about it, so I wound up having to clip it and stitch it to the right length because I like 3/4 sleeves because I can wear them year round.
Right, you can.
I don't have summer wardrobe and winter wardrobe. First of all, I have no time to rearrange my drawers to put in the summer.
We have work clothes and then laying around the house clothes,
Seriously,
right?
That's
it.
In between. Yeah. So I'm skeptical when it comes to online stuff, unless I'm really confident with whatever brand.
And I think that's key there too.
Yeah.
Either whatever clothing company it is or whatever brand it might be, because in addition to the measurements and the description, which I think that's why it takes me so long, because I'm so thorough with it.
And that's good to be thorough.
Yes, which takes way too long. But maybe I've just lost some of the joy of going out and shopping and doing the way we used to. It used to be so much fun. And it doesn't feel like that anymore.
No.
And I'm not really finding the deals, back to what we're saying, for back to school. I wasn't really finding the deals that I was hoping to get.
Yeah, exactly. But we press on when it comes to that.
We do press on.
Did you have a tense time when you were a kid getting your wardrobe together for a new school year?
Oh, that's a good point. Well, of course, the week of, you're excited to wear those new clothes.
Yeah. But did you have arguments with like siblings and parents about what articles you were going to wear?
You know, that's a great one. And I think, unique enough to where we did not have that. My sister is almost 5 years younger.
Yeah.
So if I was in high school, she was at the latter end of elementary. So we couldn't really borrow each other's clothes at that point, and we were at different styles, and at that age we were both, when we were younger, both tomboys and into sports, but by the time I hit high school that kind of faded away and she was still in that. And my mom was really good about going with us as long as it was appropriate, you know, but you still a little bit wanted to get a little on the wild side. And there was only once or twice in my life I might have changed my clothes after I left the house and into something else, but we were kind of pretty much on the same page. And my mom was really cool about that, for someone who, you know, was very mindful of what we were wearing. We partnered together with that.
Well, my mom would make a lot of my clothes and my sister's clothes.
I love that.
And my sister and I were not built the same way, so hand-me-downs were tough for her because, for one thing, she's like 5'10", and I'm 5'5", so it gives you some idea.
It's almost like my sister and I. She's 5'9.5". And I'm 5'5".
Just a different shape. Completely. Although we both had narrow shoulders and we both had the same size feet.
Oh, interesting.
But so
you can do the shoe thing.
But the shoe thing, not so much. I'm really, really tough on my shoes.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm like really brutal on my shoes. So she's like, no, I don't want Diana's
shoes. You're an aggressive walker.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
Fierce lady, that's why, right?
Yeah. I've always got some place to go, you know, so.
We got to get there.
Yeah.
But I love that your mom made those clothes. So did she create her own patterns, or was she the McCall's?
We would get a lot of McCall stuff, but she'd adjust them. You know, again, to fit whichever one of us was wearing them. But she would let us pick out our own material, which was always cool.
And then you get ownership of those clothes. Because you're picking out the colors, the patterns, even the feel. And that's even a big thing for me to this day, is how the clothing material feels. You know, I don't know if we get more skin sensitive as we get older.
And they say we do, yeah. Anything that felt kind of itchy or scratchy, I wasn't interested in at all. I liked cottons. I liked stuff that was soft. I didn't like there were like some types of chenille that they would
Right.
do clothing in, and it would just not feel good on my skin.
That's true. That's
you know,
true.
and I'd stay away from it, like some fluffy party dresses that would be, you know, and I'm like, no,
Or those itchy
ew,
sweaters
yeah, no.
or scratchy sweaters.
Yes.
Could not handle those at all.
Yeah,
And they'd always come in a turtleneck or something. You
Yes,
know, like really
yeah.
itching your neck or something
Yeah,
like that. You know, but this can backfire or also be a good thing was some of the dress code policies that
Yes.
your schools could have.
Yes.
And sometimes I know that could be a bummer for some of the kids, especially teaching middle school. I know it's like, oh, why is this? Why is that? But I also think it instills a little something in them, you know, like the certain length of maybe the skirts. And I know I probably get some oohs and ahs about this, but it was nice that my daughter had to abide by the skirts had to be a certain length of like to the knees or
Right.
like barely above the knees. And instead of these Daisy Dukes that I don't know how we were allowed to wear them in high school.
I was going to
but
say hot pants were a
Oh,
big thing
big.
when we were kids.
how were
yeah.
we allowed to do that?
And we were.
I know.
I think there was some push at one point at my high school prior to me attending my high
Okay.
school where they basically said there's no dress code.
oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
so
Wow.
kids could wear jeans or corduroys
Whatever they
or,
wanted.
you know, pullover sweaters, and that's usually what I was dressed in. You know, I was not one of the students wearing hot pants. And it's funny because I was a cheerleader.
Oh,
so
funny.
I
Which you would
was
wear
used
the-
to
yes,
short
right.
skirts and all that. But the shortest my skirt would be on the days that we would have a game and we'd
Game
all
and you
wear
had to wear your
uniforms.
stuff. Oh,
you know?
funny.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was there decades. And I mean, it gets, you know, in May, it can be 115 degrees. So I don't know if that was the reason, but we were wearing Daisy Dukes. I think that's when Dukes of Hazzard was very popular, but they were short as can be
Yeah.
and flip flops and a tank top.
Yeah.
And we were
Well-
allowed to wear that to school.
How much air conditioning was there in your
Well,
school?
you know, back in those days,
Yeah,
it probably
none.
was nowhere near as good as it
None.
would be today. You know?
And you'd still be in class in June.
Yeah, and you're
So,
just dying
yeah,
there.
Yeah,
and-
so,
Right.
and it was rare that you'd have the windows open as much as they should have been.
There you
for
go.
no air conditioning. So, yeah, so I think they were a little bit more
They're
flexible with
a little bit
us.
more lenient than,
But-
yeah. But then if you look at that now, there's no way that would fly today. And I know some kids might push back against that, like, why, you know, why this? But it also does instill a little bit of, I mean, who am I to judge what's appropriate or not?
Yeah, but propriety is a good thing for kids to learn
Right.
at some age, at an important age. And high school is an important age because after college, you're going into the work world, or
going into-
after trade school, or some people are just going straight into the work world.
Absolutely, straight
And
into the
they're not
workforce.
going to be allowed to wear their hot pants to work in a lot of cases.
Right.
So, yeah.
Unless we're going to Hooters, but no. But like we said, that even about trade schools, which I'm a big fan of trade schools and
yeah.
vocational schools, and there's even, I'm not going to say a dress code, but there's certain type of clothing that you need to wear for protection.
Yep.
Whether if you're in welding, if you're in automotive, if you're in plumbing or HVAC, you have to be mindful of what you're wearing for safety reasons too. So it's just a big awareness. So back to school is a lot different
Now.
shopping and how we view it than it ever was when we were growing up.
Lori Meyer joining us on Go Tell Mom. Lori is an educator. She's also a mom, and we frequently discuss mom situations on the Ladies' Room on WVCP. Just a delight today to be able to talk about kids and clothing and how to get them dressed for back to school without getting into a hassle about it. Between trying to figure out where to go shopping and what to allow the children to buy and how it's going to be paid for, there are a lot of balls that you're juggling in the air when you're doing back to school shopping. Hopefully we've given you a few helpful suggestions and ideas in that department. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Go Tell Mom, where we chew on stuff that you talk about with your mom, or maybe not. I'm Dianna Kelly. If there's something you want brought up, something you want to add, comment below, and I'll be back next week.